Well, welcome back, cowboys and cowgirls. I got a dear friend here, Kerri Roberson, that's coming on here to talk about the ranch method with everyone. She's she has a great book out here if you ever want to read it. This is Your Words Create Your World. Um, it's a She is an expert of why when you're talking and choosing your words of how that can influence your mind and every action that you take. So when we get into the C and H portion of the ranch, you're going to really understand why what you say matters so much. But Kerri, we've met through since we're both in network marketing, direct sales business in the same company, and I've listened to you talk many times. And I know you've talked around the world about this stuff. Kind of tell me why network marketing and direct sales has been such an important part of your life.
Absolutely. Well, I think for me, the biggest thing was I knew from a very young age I was not ever going to be a good employee. I can honestly say that because the minute that somebody showed me my schedule and I had no control over it. So yeah, I went to cosmetology school and became a manicurist and nail technician. And my very first job was at J.C. Penney salon. And the lady told me, she goes, "Here's your schedule, and it'll be primarily this for the first year." And I would work every Tuesday night, every Thursday night, and every Saturday. And I went, "Oh, wait a second." And so I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My parents were always business owners. And so I just thought, man, this isn't what I envisioned. And so it took me about probably 6 weeks to save up enough money working that job to go out on my own. And I was okay with taking a risk because I knew it was up to me, right? And so my work ethic would show up, and so I would go on to build a dynamic clientele and open a salon. But I can remember the day I turned 18 enrolling in direct sales because I also had my mom's best friend had been in direct sales my whole life. And so I saw freedom there as well and thought, you know what, it's something I could do alongside what I currently did. And we can talk more about that, but how that would absolutely change the trajectory of my life forever in a very positive way when bad things happen. 'Cause-
It is.
yeah.
So, jumping into the ranch method, residual income, kind of, I've kind of explained this to our my group here and all that, but why is that so powerful of getting residual income from a direct sales business?
Well, we have this thing called residual bills. I mean, honestly, right? Everything in life has a residual aspect, except for someone's pay. Almost always, without a direct sales, without a network marketing, we find ourselves trading hours for dollars. And honestly, what we have is what I call a transfer day. It's not really a payday. We get our paycheck and then we turn around and pay it all out. And people have very little left. And so you can get leverage with this industry to have something like this on the side that oftentimes way exceeds what you're doing at your current profession. And that's where I found myself. I'll just go ahead and spill that out a little bit because I went on to open my own salon. I was very successful at what I did. But one day, in the blink of an eye, my life changed physically. I twisted my ankle walking up a flight of stairs, and I thought I pulled a muscle. I was an athlete my whole life. I'd felt that feeling before, but this was different. And within 45 minutes, I couldn't sit. I called my mom and I said, "Can you come? Can you come pick me up and help me?" And we went over to the chiropractor's office, and his words, I can still hear them. He said, "Kerri, I can't touch you, but I have a friend who's a neurosurgeon. He's booked 6 months out. He's agreed to see you first thing tomorrow morning." And I'm like, "Wait, what? It's just a pulled muscle, surely." And he was like, "It's not." And I ended up having 4 titanium cages placed in my lower back. And that was horrible, number one. I'll just say that. But as a result of that, I could no longer sit 10 to 12 hours a day and work on people's fingernails. And I'm telling you, and just like that, my health was gone as well as my income. But you know what was still there? The residual, because I had borrowed money from the bank to start that brick and mortar business, just like most people do. And as a result, they wanted their money back and they wanted it with interest. And I didn't have anything coming in. And so that was when we really started to look at this a little differently as, okay, I mean, I knew the power of direct sales, but then I truly understood that everyone's just one moment away of losing it because we're not guaranteed anything. And if you can't show up and perform for an employee, or if you can't show up and perform as your for yourself, like I couldn't, well, then you're left with nothing. But life
Yeah.
doesn't stop. Still got to eat. We still got to be able to put a roof over our head. And so those bills keep coming. And so it's truly dynamic when you can start to understand that this does give us leverage in life.
Yeah, and especially in this day and age of everybody's job of whether they're in social media, creating content, AI is coming for a lot of this stuff out there. I mean, a lot of marketing jobs, a lot of if you're answering a phone, you're probably already getting replaced with automatic phone deals for a long time, chat bots on every single website answering questions. I mean, I there's not too many fields out there that are safe from unless you're actually physically welding. I mean, but they got computerized welding machines and all that out there too.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're down in Texas, you got a lot of oil rigs, and I've seen a lot of. I was talking with a guy about 6 months ago, and like, how much more computerized all these oil drills are being coming where they used to have 8 people out there and they've cut that down in half,
Right.
on some of these things of, you know, even these blue collar jobs, are getting affected by the advancements of technology.
Right.
And this is a great thing about direct sales because it's going to be very hard because the whole model is set up people talking to people. And we can use AI to assist us, but it's going to be very hard to replace, at least in the short term. And with great companies that want to keep people doing this because it's made them successful.
This is true. I talk to people all the time in all different arenas that are feeling the heat of AI. And, as a realtor, I've had a conversation with a guy who said, I'm really concerned. And he does home inspections. And he's been primarily for the VA for, I guess, 20, 30 years now. And he said, they're replacing me quickly. And I said, how could you think of home inspections and all the things that we know that goes into that, Rocky? And all of a sudden he said, oh no, it's happening. From the drone technology to that, he said, there's a lot that it's been taken away from me that I don't do anymore. And he said, and it's probably within a few short years. And so I'm looking at what can I do? I had a conversation with him that morning. So think about that. An inspector in the real estate field. That afternoon, I talked to a man who had been at a McDonald's for over 20 years, 3 locations. And he said, it's coming. I'm going to be replaced. And I'm looking and I said, what do you mean? Like, you're the general manager of 3 McDonald's. And he said, and as soon as the owner doesn't need me, I will be out. And I said, well, how could that possibly be? And he said, they're already open in Dallas. And I said, what's already opened? And he said, drive-throughs that are completely automated. No humans are there, preparing our food, packaging our food, taking the money. And he goes, it's already happening. And it won't be long before it'll come in here. And he said, so I'm thinking ahead, right? So there's already people in all different fields that are thinking, I'm going to be replaced. It's just a matter of time. But I'm kind of like you, I love our founder and our inventor of our technology because he knows the people aspect. And, he's already said we will use AI to as many advantages that we can, but it will not replace our people. And so, there's a lot of things that AI can automatically do, but he said that's just going to free up people to do what it can or that it
Yep.
won't do in our sense because we touch people. And
Yep.
so it can package things, it can do things to assist, but at the same time, he's like, I don't have any intentions of firing half of my staff to go. I just want them to be able to better support the things that they need to do that take a personal touch. And so that's
And
it.
that's the emotion comp part of direct sales. I mean, because people are going to buy from you if they see that emotion in you. Yeah, AI can try to sell, but it's not going to deliver the emotion yet. Trying to connect with that emotion when you're trying to say, hey, you should try this. I mean, look at these amazing results I have. They're going to see that you in your face and all that. And that's the big part about, I think, why most people have a hard time in direct sales is they sometimes just don't know how to do, see it energetically into them. They're just trying to read a script or something like that, and they haven't found that emotional piece to it yet. Because I've seen you talk to people, I've seen a bunch of people go up talk to, and it's about what you deliver, the energy in your face and just in your voice. That's not going to be easily replaceable. I'm not saying it won't ever be replaceable, but it's not there yet.
Right. Well, and as humans, let's not forget, we thrive on connections and community.
Hmm.
And that's the biggest thing that I tell people. First of all, always be yourself, always be organic. Never read from a script. People know when you're doing that. So, I just always say have a relaxed intensity. You don't have to know everything, but you do have to truly deliver a message that's compelling, that's passionate, right? And so I could talk to a brick wall because I know that because of this technology, I have my mother here with me today. And, I've seen the miracles. I've seen all the things over the past 2.5 years. And so nobody can take that from me. My belief is way up there, right?
Yep.
And so my message is very compelling. But I will tell you, Rocky, when you think and you believe the way I do, because I believe the world needs my message. They need
Hmm.
this technology. All 8 billion people on the planet need what we have. So that radiates from me. People stop me and say, "What are you doing? Like, what do you do for a living? Like, I want to be a part of whatever you do." And I'm like, "Did I say what I did?" Right? Like, but I mean, it's fun because I expect people to be drawn to me. I expect to be different,
Yeah.
right? So therefore, but here's the reality is people long for community. And with all the technology and all the AI and all the things that we're seeing in the world today, it's not what the average person wants. They want to be connected because they have all of these resources. And the studies show us never has there ever been such a time that people feel more alone and
Yeah.
isolated, right? And I'm like, that's so crazy. But I mean, I don't know if you saw it just last week, the whole thing about the engagement with the AI for the last 6 months. And I'm like, okay, when a human is like turned to that point, you're just like, oh man, they want to be a part of a community. And so I think that's what really sets us apart in this industry is we're not just, hey, go out there and get it done. It's, hey, let's lock arms and do life together,
Yeah.
grow
And
together,
that's
let's be
and
powerful.
that's jumping into the end portion of this, the network marketing leverage of the ranch method is we build teams that want to go with us. I mean, please tell us the story. I mean, you in a short period of time, you've created such a big team. You've already created so many millionaires in a short period of time. What, but going back to being who you are, you and your voice, and you've attracted people that believe in that message you're having. So, I mean, I've met a lot of people on your team, and they all believe and have everything just like you do. They have the same faith. They have all this same, and that's how you've built this great big community. So just kind of dig into that a little bit.
Well, without a vision, people perish, right? And so I was given a vision years ago that we would create a minimum of 25 families earning $1 million a year or more. And that was way back in 2012. So sometimes people forget, they go, man, I don't know that that's ever going to happen. But I believed. I believed so much, I actually printed it in the book, right? And so it's in there. And I tell
Yep.
people, but I didn't have a vehicle until I found this one. And it became crystal clear to me that this was the vehicle that we would use to do that. And so we began to speak that. I always say the title of my book is not just some catchy words. Your words really do create your world. And so, what are you saying every day? Because I expect miracles. And I know beyond the shadow of a doubt, we are creating millionaires. And so we talk about that. We share that team vision that we have and I share it with everyone. Look, I don't care where you're at in the team. I don't care where it happens. Like, hey, we are creating millionaires. We are millionaire making machines. So with that mindset, with that posture, with that, hey, we've got a system in place and we can help you. People buy into your belief always. I will say that over and over and over again. If you don't believe, people, they just know it, they sense it, right? So
Yep.
your belief will absolutely transfer to other people, and they will say, hey, I'm one. And I love it. I have a board over here of all the people who have reached out to me. And so now it gives you that piece of accountability, right? To say, hey, let's look at your organization. Let's look at your business. Let's see if you're on track. Because I know the C is about consistency in the range method. And I will tell you,
Consistent action.
I tell people, if I could leave you with one thing, it would be consistent. Be consistent every single day with your actions, and not just the things that you think. Listen, there's a lot of things we can do every single day, but they do not produce income result in actions, right? Like, you've got to know the difference. And so I am a very big, reader. I spend a lot of quiet time. I do a lot of things consistently every day that I know we're really big for that. But if I'm not talking to new people every day and sharing this technology, and I'm not following up with people every single day about this technology, and I'm not inviting all of those people every single day to watch the Zoom to get a bigger picture, I am not producing anything that results with income.
Yep.
Because it's just not like, so we have to identify what gets us paid and what helps us move the ball down the field. And so when we got started, I committed to no less than 3 people new every single day, 3 people to follow up with every single day, and invite all 6 of them to the Zoom. Now, a lot of people pick and choose who they invite to a Zoom. Big mistake, right? Because I've heard people say, well, I don't know if they would want to know there's an opportunity. And y'all talk about that. I'm like, listen, money is the economy of this place called Earth. We all need it. No one can go, oh, I don't need money. You need money to eat. You need money for clothing, for shelter. Everybody has to have it. So
My multimillionaire friends still look at how can I make more money? And trust me, they have jets, everything like that. And they're still looking, how can I make more money?
that's why they're multimillionaires, because they're open-minded, right? Like, I tell people the most expensive thing you can own in this lifetime is a closed mind, because the truth is that people with money are always looking for ways to get more, and they look for ways to multiply theirs. And so the reality is though, so when people start picking and choosing, I just kind of smile and go, don't get the God syndrome. You're not God. You don't get to decide what a person needs, right? Because everybody needs the technology. And the truth is everybody needs the opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So let them
You
decide.
look at those multimillionaires, majority of them will have 8 different streams of income coming in.
Exactly.
8.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about us having a 9-to-5 job. One.
Where we have a transfer day, our money for our bills.
Yep.
And
So everybody really needs to look at, this is why we went from where we've been able to have, back in the old days, one person working, one person staying at home raising the kids, to where now it's minimum, you can't really raise a household, or, do everything without both parents working anymore, it seems like, unless, you're part of that 1%. 1%, you're above the 1% when you're making $250,000, and then, well, even some of these people are working 2 jobs, and so they're not having any time with family. And growing up on a ranch, our business was the ranch, so I got to spend every waking moment besides school with my parents. So it was a, family business growing up on the ranch, and have to get up every morning, do chores, and, before school or after school or summer, we had plenty of work to go along every single day. So, I was able to be around my parents, 24/7, except when my mom decided, like, well, we had some bad years of beef prices. And so my mom became a bank teller. And then somebody convinced her to run for county treasurer. And then she was a county treasurer for 20 some odd years, but she didn't do that until we got older and we was able to take care of ourselves. So when we was being young and she was around there, taking care of us, making sure everything was happening, that we could help sis do whatever chores. But as soon as we got old enough, she goes, okay, now I feel comfortable. I can go out and get some of this, help supplement some income. Why, No, because she didn't have any daughters. My parents had 3 boys, so we had a lot of manual labor born right into our family.
Yeah. They took that advice of go forth and multiply.
Yeah.
Because the truth is you think about it, like you meet these families that have like 10, 11 kids. Well, back in the day, they had children for the work aspect, right?
Yep.
And so nowadays, people don't have children because they can't afford them. And you're right. Like when we were younger, our parents usually one or the other worked, right? It was just a mom was home. But at the end of the day, when I think about how it looks today, it does take two incomes. And a lot of times I meet people that have, not only do they have two incomes, they both have master's degrees, and yet they're not making much more than what my daughter made right out of college. And that just baffles me because I don't understand that, where people feel so like they've got this lid that they can't get beyond, but yet they stay. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I literally always count the cost for people. And this might really help those listening is, I just say, what does it cost you to go there? What does it cost? Especially if you have young children, because oftentimes I've heard people say, I just want to be home with my kids. My mom was home with me. I want to be the mom that's there to pick them up from school. And listen, that's the one thing that this industry has given me the most joy in is never missing the moments, because those kids grow up fast. Our son is 32 now, married with 3 children, one on the way, and our daughter is about to turn 25, and we didn't miss any moments. And I'm telling you, it felt like it just happened like that.
Mhm.
And so, but I'll hear parents say, I just wish that I had the ability to be there. And I wish, and I'll say, well, then let's count the costs. What are you paying for daycare? What are you paying for all the things? People have dry cleaning, people have lunch every day, people have gas to get there. And when we add it all up, Rocky, it's amazing to me. I've had people that are in the negative to go to work. And I'm like, I told one lady, I go, hey, you know what? Do yourself a favor. Don't cry all the way to work tomorrow. Just tell the daycare you're not bringing your kids back, because you're actually going to pocket about $400 if you keep your kids home and you don't go to work. I mean, like, but they didn't, they were,
They
I
haven't put the pencil down.
no,
They just see this, but they don't. Yeah, they don't look at all the associated costs
no,
to when you have to drive, especially, I mean, in Texas, I mean, it takes you an hour to get anywhere in some of these cities, and same here in Phoenix, Arizona. It can take. I went and got my hair cut this morning, and it took the lady that cuts my hair 45 minutes during rush hour, and she only lives 20 miles away.
yeah,
And it's just like that much time to get to her studio to do it. She's like, she goes, I hate this, and I've been working with her on trying to join our network marketing company, and she's getting closer. I'm like, even if you still do it, it's like the amount of hair that these ladies will be growing. I mean, she does mostly ladies.
oh yeah,
They're going to come and see you more often.
100%, 100%.
But while we're on the network marketing still, before we get into consistent action and talk more a little bit about that, there's still a misconception of, back when we've had some bad companies about pyramid scheme,
Mhm.
and I've kind of do this, but you've been in this type of business a lot longer than I ever have. Tell me how people can see a pyramid scheme and how people can see this is a true, legitimate opportunity to make money. Because you probably heard it a lot over your career.
Oh, have I ever. So 32 years in the industry now. With the first 6, it was a part of my life, but then full time ever since then. So this has been my life. And yes, I have heard it. And so I always like to address it first and go, well, first of all, pyramids are in Egypt and they're illegal. Like, come on, let's be real. Like you see those, they're not offering a service. So all we're doing is taking out that store shelf, right? Like it's literally, because here's the truth. Most of the products sold, somebody buys them and goes, oh my gosh, you've got to go to the store. You got to get this, right? I love this, whatever it is. We sell it. They just get to profit from it. And so I don't care how people look at it. But the best rendition I've ever been able to explain, I think, is that my daughter's volleyball coach one day, she was always ordering product for her and her best friend. And so one day we were sitting there in the gym and she was telling me we had just bought Rick a new mega cab. And she said, oh my goodness, I wish I would have known. My best friends, he lost his job. And then a few weeks later, she lost hers and they had just bought a truck like that. Now, so if you know anybody else that wants to buy one. And I said, are we talking about the friend that you buy the product for all the time? And she's like, yeah. I said, I really wish you would connect me with her and let me help her. And she goes, oh, she wouldn't be interested in your pyramid scheme. I looked at her, I go, excuse me? And she goes, oh, I didn't mean it like that. And I said, well, I'm not sure how you meant it. I go, but let me explain something to you. I go, actually, let me ask you a question. And she goes, what? I said, have I ever called you about my product? And she goes, no. I go, no, you see, my daughter shared the product with you because you're her coach and you noticed a difference in my child than the others. And I go, and so y'all had a conversation and you actually reached out to me and then you shared it with your friend. And I said, so you are constantly calling me to place your order. And I said, and I deliver the product. I take great care of you as a customer. And I go, but have I ever approached you in any negative way? And she was like, no, I didn't mean what I said. And I go, oh, but you said it. And I said, and so I want you to see something. And I go, look across the gym. And she did. And it was the perfect lineup. If I couldn't have painted a picture any better if I'd have tried, because there sat the varsity volleyball coach. And I said, look, do you see her? And she goes, yeah, I see her. And I said, she makes more money than you. And she goes, yeah. And I go, and you even drive the bus every night. You're not home till after midnight. And you still don't make as much money as her. And she goes, I know. And I go, oh, but look right next to her. There is Coach McDonald, the athletic director. And I said, and she makes more money than both of you. You will never be able to make as much as her. And she goes, you're right about that. And I go, but right next to her is the principal. There he is. And I said, and well, he makes more money than all of y'all. And I go, and look, how lucky are we? There's Kramer and I'm like, just like, it was all the way up to the superintendent. Like I said, I couldn't have painted a better picture. And I said, not one of you, starting with you all the way on down that line, can ever pass the other one. You are stuck at the bottom. And I said, it sounds to me like you're in the world-class pyramid scheme called our public education system. Mm-hmm. And she just looked at me with big eyes and she goes, wow, I've never thought about it like that. Okay, so let's fast forward because the story gets better. That was Hannah's freshman year in high school. So Hannah graduates college and we have found LifeWave. And I say to her, I reach out because now she's had a total knee replacement. We're about the same age. She might be 2 years older. Since that time, she's gone back and got her master's degree. And so I reached out to her and I heard the same thing. I can't afford the product. And I go, it's $3 a day. We're talking about $100 a month. What do you mean you can't afford it? And so for 6 months, every time I would see her post, I would say, Coach, let me help you. Well, she kept saying, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. But she happened to hobble into my house and sit in that first chair that she could get to for Hannah's graduation from college. And I looked her in the eye and I said, when are you going to stop being so stubborn and let me help you? That knee replacement was 6 months ago and you still can't bear weight on your knee. And she goes, I know, but I can't. I said, don't you dare tell me you can't afford it. And she goes, well, and I go, no. Mm-mm. I go, let me see your fingernails. See, she posts every time she gets her nails done and her toenails right. And I said, because I took Hannah yesterday. I know exactly what it costs to get your nails done. So see,
and I used to do it.
And I still get it's a choice you're making. It's a choice to suffer and to be miserable whenever you have the money. You just can't believe. And she goes, okay, I'm going to do it. I'll buy a month. And I go, no, you will not. And she goes, what? And I said, no, you're going to commit to me that you're going to wear this for 6 months. You have been grueling for 6 months in pain and agony. And I said, and you're not 10 years old. You're going to give it a month for every decade. And I go, we're going to go beyond that. And she goes, okay, I'll do it. I said, so you're going to sign up. I go, and most importantly, you're joining because you're still telling me you're broke and now you hold a master's degree. And I said, and that breaks my heart that nothing has changed in your world since she was a freshman in high school and she just finished college. And I said, and I love you too much to leave you where you're at. And she goes, okay, all right, I'm in. And so I have to tell you, we immediately left for Ireland and Scotland. And we were gone for a couple of weeks and I got a text and she said, Savior, I told you so's until I see you face to face. And she goes, but I have not had a pain pill or a sleeping pill in 3 weeks. And look, and she sends me a video and she's like, I have no discomfort. My knee is no swelling. I'm 100%. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so, sometimes you've just got to be matter of fact. But she is my best pyramid scheme story ever, right? But it took me years of being the person that could just lead her, and to the point that I had to look her in the eyes and go, enough is enough. Enough.
Sometimes this is another thing. Now we're getting into consistent action because you had to continually work on this person to do it, and it took years,
Yep.
and people quit after, no, I don't know if this is right for me.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I heard something, what no means. Not now. I mean, something along those lines. You might have heard of that before too.
I would tell you no just means not right now.
Not right now. Something like
Yeah.
that. It's just, it's very simple of like, you just have to keep on dripping on them, and that's one thing about our whole group is we've had so many people, doctors that are pushing this stuff. So, we forward on doctors' testimonials. We can just slowly drip on people, and technologies help us. We can invite them into our Facebook groups, and now they have a bunch of testimonials that we're always posting out there, and it's good. But so let's get into the consistent action of when we was talking about money making things. Like you said, you start out 3 people every day, 3 follow-ups. These are the type of small constant actions that people need to take in this type of business. What do you think is the biggest reason? And I believe is their fear of rejection, of getting that no, of why, when you look at people that become successful and the people that quit in the first year.
Right. Well, I ask people when they tell me they want to build this as a business, I'm like, hey, give me the next 4 years of your life. Now, some people are like, oh, what you would ask them for that? And I'm like, listen, the colleges in America are asking them for a minimum of 4 years to get a degree that almost rarely do people use, and I think about these children going to college right now and coming out with $175,000 plus in debt, and they're getting offered $45,000 a year. And so, but yet we expect them to buy their first home, and that's 300,000 now. And, all these, and I'm like, come on, nothing's adding up. And so, but people still do it. And so when I ask them, will you commit to the next 4 years of your life to do something consistently that can now change generations? Because here's what I believe with all my heart. You cannot do something wrong enough, long enough, and not succeed. I meant, like, if you will do it every day, you get better. And you're going to get wins along the way. See, what happens though is we talk to somebody and they say no, and we take it personally. Listen, it's not personal. When I walk into a store and somebody says, can I help you find something? And I go, no, they didn't quit their job. Like, it's not personal.
No.
Well, it's not personal here. So you have to surrender the outcome. You have to remove yourself from whatever it's going to be. However, you've also heard the terminology of the fortunes and the follow-up. Well, I've got to tell you, if you're the person that shares it with somebody and you never follow up, you were a salesman and nothing more to that person. You did not care about them. It was not about their best interest. It was, you were trying to make a quick buck. That's how people perceive you. Because when we look at all the statistics that show us that the true sale is usually taking place somewhere between the 7th and 12th exposure. And so I tell people, you have to continue to follow up. So will you follow up, and will you still be following up with people a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when maybe their circumstances have changed? See, that's what I also know. The word no just means not right now, but things are going to change for everyone, whether it's their health, whether it's their financial situation, or whether it's the fact that they just get to the point where they're like, hey, I am tired of planning a staycation better than I plan my life. And I've got dreams and I want to pursue things. And you've stayed consistently enough in their space that now they're like, I'm going to go call them. Because we've seen it all. We've seen people that have said no for a long time, but I'm the girl that's about every 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to show you some love. I'm going to send you a video. I'm going to reach back out to you. I'm going to give you an, oh, by the way, update. Right?
Yeah, you're not doing it every single day of like pestering them. You give them their space, you know, and
Yes.
then, like you said, 4 to 6 weeks. Hey, saw this, thought of you,
Yeah.
you know, boom, here
But
you
I
go
can
again.
tell you dozens of people in our business today that it was a year plus out. See, everybody always goes, "Oh my gosh, your business has exploded." It exploded because I talked to 3 people every day. I followed up with 3 people every day and I invited them all to the Zoom. So what happens in that? Because listen, the law of gravity is in effect. If I drop this, guess what happens? It's gone, right? It's going to fall.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe if I drop it 5 times, one time it's going to sit here and hover. No, it's going to fall each time. It's the law of gravity. Well, the law of numbers is in your favor when you're consistent. And I believe with all my heart, every person, no matter how busy their life is, can talk to a minimum of 3 people, new every day, follow up with 3, and invite all 6 of them to the Zoom. Now, what happens if you pick and choose one? What if you invited the wrong one? Right? Because if you play God, you might invite the wrong one. But what if you only invited one and they got a flat tire on the way home from work? Or they got home and had a sick kid? Or they got home and, got a phone call? That doesn't matter. There's 1,000 reasons people forget about you. But if you invited 6, the law of numbers is in your favor because maybe one gets on, maybe
Yep.
2, right? If you're compelling enough, maybe 3. But I also don't just throw out a Zoom link and say, here, check this out. I ask, like, imagine, Rocky, if you said, hey, Sherry and I are going to throw ribeyes on the grill and they're going to be ready at 7 o'clock. Kerri, how do you want your steak done? And I say, well, I prefer mine medium rare. And you go,
The
okay,
only way, by the way. The only way, medium rare.
right? So, but if I tell you that, you're expecting me to show up at 7 o'clock, are you not? You're
Yep.
going to be like, I put a $30 steak on the grill for that girl and she didn't come to eat it, because we invite with intentionality.
Yep.
So many times people will be like, well, there's a Zoom, I could send you a link. And I'm like, no, hey, listen, I've got a Zoom that's going to be on at 8 o'clock tonight. Could you be on it? And if they give me one excuse, I go, hey, you know what? No worries. I'm not sending them the link. But if they say, yes, I could, great. I'm going to send you a reminder a few minutes out. Listen, and I tell them what's in it for them. And I go, I'm telling you, the minute that Zoom's over, you and I, we're going to be talking. You're going to know, because we've got to paint a picture of what's in it for them. Because I learned a long time ago, that's the only radio station anybody's listening to. What's in it for me? WIFM. And so if you will be very direct with your invitations, people respond to that. Now, doesn't mean that life won't happen, because if you don't hear back from them, chances are they weren't on the Zoom, right?
Yep.
But that's where our follow-up comes in. We follow up and say, hey, and if they go, oh my gosh, chaos ensued and this is what happened. You know what I do at that point? If it was recorded and I know there was something specific that would have gotten them, I'll say, hey, I'm going to send you the link. I want you to fast forward to maybe the 12-minute mark.
Yep.
Right? What's in it for them? Because as soon as they have something that pierces them, that makes sense to them, now they're going to go back and listen to the whole thing. They're going to call you and say, all right, tell me more. How do I get started? Right? So you just have to know we are working with people, and people are always going to be the best part about this business. And they're always going to also be the hardest part about this business.
And
What
the
you'll
nice
find,
thing what's that?
let me say this, what you'll find is that there's not a whole lot of people who are true to their word. And that's unfortunate, but that's where our society has placed them. They've allowed people to quit on everything, starter marriages, starter homes, all the things that we see. And so when we understand that that is how people have been programmed, it's okay to not be a person of your word. That's a tough thing, but just know we can reprogram. We can help rewire that mindset of, if you said you were going to do something, you show up. If you said you were going to be there, you're early, and that's on time, right? And so, but it takes a lot of time and patience and energy to do that. And so, but that our society's programmed people to tell you they're going to show up and do something and then not show up and it be okay.
It has, unfortunately. And, and one thing I love about our system is, let's say they got home and last minute, sorry, I can't make it on this one, came into the house, this is a situation, no problem. If there wasn't nothing on there, our whole team that we use as a collective, even though like you and I are on the same part of the team, but we're not underneath of each other, but we still help each other's teams out.
Right.
And there's always a call that we can get on somebody every single day
Every
or at certain times that we can help other people. Like, okay, this time's not working for you. What is the best time for you that you're going to be able to have your quiet time where you can listen to this 30, 45, 50-minute Zoom?
Yes.
And then you can go out there and find that, or you get with your upline and say, hey, none of these are working, can we just do a Zoom for her and do a three-way call? Or we all have the practice of doing the presentations and be able to just go through them. All that I just did that yesterday and Sunday. And so, I mean, it was just a couple, we had this lady downline. It's like, hey, the lady I just signed up, she wants to get her sister signed up. She only has time this time on Sunday. I'm like, can you jump? I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
I'll set up a Zoom link and like, boom, here you go. Let's
Well,
talk about it.
that makes a really valid point too, is because what a lot of people don't realize is that in this industry, you were never alone.
No.
And so that's the beautiful thing. You might have 60-hour a week work week. And I'll tell you one other story about being consistent. I reached out to a dear friend the minute that I learned about LifeWave, because I knew her father and her father-in-law both needed this technology. And I love the family. And so I was like, you've got to hear me out. Well, it took a year for her to say yes and get started on patches. And now we've seen the just absolute amazing miracles happen in that family and beyond, and so many other families. But it was me constantly saying, oh, literally just learned about this, and sending somebody that had recovered from a stroke or long haul COVID, different things that related to her family. So people automatically see her success. But what they don't know is it took me a year of follow up to get her yes.
Yep.
Then it took her, me just saying to her, hey, every person you come in contact with, you just put me in a group message, because she was working 60 hours a week and she was miserable in that job. But she had no time to breathe while she was there. And so I would say, just let me work for you. Connect me to people, connect me to people, because that's the beauty too, is too often people go, well, I don't want to bother you. And I go, well, then stay disgusted. No, I help people who are reaching out to me saying, hey, I need help. And I'm so grateful for a system and for people who do that, because that was me once upon a time. I'm like, I'm the girl that needs $400 to $600 as much as I need air to breathe. And I had someone come alongside me and help me do that. And so when I shared with my girlfriend, just keep putting me to work. Well, we found the one down there that couldn't deny that she was going to go share this technology with the world. And last year at Global, when my girlfriend called me on that Friday and said, I just walked out, I'm done, I'm free. And I said, then get your butt in the room. You cannot miss Global Convention, right? I'll find you 2 tickets for you and your husband. And she got there. But then that next week, we were at an event and she shared, because I was so drained. And Kerri, I was just putting people into the system and allowing Kerri to help me. My income is 3 times of what my 60-hour a week job was paying me.
Yep.
3 times. So you have to trust the system and the people that are here that want to lock arms with you and help you. See,
Yep.
I tell people my greatest joy comes in people's freedom, whether that's their health, that's their time, that's their debt paid off, it's their finances, it's their dreams come true. Because I believe we all have that assignment. We were created for more than just paying the bills. It wasn't about transfer day. It was about the dreams placed in our heart, because when we start to fulfill those, there's a lot of other people that are blessed by that. And so, but if all you do is get up and live in Groundhog Day every day, and reality is it's one thing if it's your passion and it's your calling. But the truth is I find people that even are in that role that are going, but I know there's more. And
Yep.
I'm maxed out here and I can't do greater, because this is all I can do. And so even to help them see there's a next level, that's so rewarding. And that's what this opportunity gives us.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue in getting into the age of honoring our values, honoring our faith is such a critical part. I mean, I know how faith drives a big factor into you and your family. Haven't met your son, but know your daughter, know your husband, gotten to know you guys. And faith is such a big part, your faith, your values of what you stand for, getting back to like people not honoring their words, honoring our values. What do you stand for? And of understanding your why to really what is things that you're going to plant your flag into. This is what I want to be known for. And I start seeing a lot of people having a hard time of making that commitment anymore of this is what I want to be known for. Because, I mean, they don't understand why. They don't have a deep connection with faith. They never really, the value system, like you said, our society, the values in that has dwindled so much. How do you help people find what their values and all that are?
Well, I believe that all starts with, for me, it is my faith. And I believe it starts with understanding what Jesus said about who we are and what we're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And I think we can go to church and we can sit in church our whole life and miss it. Right. And so, because I hear a lot of people that, they wear their title or their sickness like a badge of honor, or, they're constantly, the words don't match up, and that's what I believe. I was sent to be the person that changes a person's mindset to the words they speak, because it does literally create the world they're living in. And so I tell people, you're just a few words away from a completely different life if you choose. Right. And so I catch people all day long, because there's people that have great faith until they don't, right? Until
Mhm.
that faith is tested. And so I'm like, hey, look, can you stand strong in the word of God whenever you have the fiery darts come at you or the strong winds blow? Because the word tells us that's going to happen too, right? So whenever people start to really understand who they are and the foundation that they've been given, because listen, I tell people all day long, the word tells us that he came so that we could live life more abundantly.
Mhm.
People talk about earning income, and I hear people sometimes put up their hands and go, "Oh, no, 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 it can't be all about the money, and I don't want to sell to people I know, or I don't want to make money off of my friends, or I don't know, all the things that I hear." And I'm like, hold on a second. See, they have the wrong belief. Maybe they sit in church their whole life and they heard money is the root of all evil. Well,
Yep.
it actually says the love of money. So I tell people, like, listen, it's just something you brought to the table. But if we could rewire that, and a lot of times it goes back to the why. I
Yep.
tell people there's two whys that you're going to have to identify in this lifetime. One is what hurt you, because what hurts you is not having enough money. What hurts you is the illness that's been brought on, and sometimes that's because of lack of money, right? Or the broken
Mhm.
relationships, all the things we can look. And I tell people in my book, I talk about the correlation of debt and suicide and divorce and child abuse and all those things, and how they correlate to the lack of money. So don't tell me that money's evil when we see all these things going on, because now let's talk about when that hurts you, now what's hiding in you, because that right there is the dream that's inside of your heart.
Yep.
That's the purpose. And often our pain leads to our purpose. So I say, what about the young girl who was sex trafficked? And now we've been able, because of money, to get her out and to rescue her, but to turn her life in a different direction through mentorship and leadership and establishing something. And she goes on to establish a home for girls who have been trafficked, right? See, her pain became her purpose,
Yep.
but it took us completely taking her thoughts and making them new and lining up with the word of God. And so I just tell people, like, my faith, I can't separate the two. So
Yep.
I don't preach at people. I talk about that in my book too. I had a girl one time that met me at the door, and she at a business meeting, and she goes, stop. She goes, do not tell me that you're going to come here and talk about Jesus, because my brother shoves him down my throat every time I walk in the door. I'm an atheist and I'm proud of it, and I don't want to hear about it. And I said, girlfriend, I came here to help you get skinny and make money. I go, how does that sound? And she goes, I'm all ears. So I walked alongside of her for months in her health journey and helped her, because I knew she wanted to lose weight. I'd already been prefaced, right? I said, listen, I mean, I've been in the world of nutrition, so I would help people with their health, right? If that was losing weight, if that was gaining, whatever it was. But I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I walked that journey with her. And as a result, guess what? She was pretty prominent in the postal community here, worked for the post office. And So I began to help her share that with others. And we began to put some pretty nice, significant income in her pocket. And it was one day I was sitting there when I saw her give her life and all of her children and her husband to the Lord. And she told me that day, she said, "Your quiet strength. See, you kept your promise to me. I never heard you talk. I just watched you live your life. And I watched you be a person of your word and operate with integrity in what you told me you would do." And that was way better and bigger for me than all the people who had just quoted scripture and did all these things. And so I tell people, like, you be you. You don't, I don't waver in who I am. But at the same time, if God calls me to go into the home of the atheist, I'm going, right? Like, we're supposed to be his light that shines in dark places. And so I'm good wherever he calls me, but I don't compromise who I am in my faith. I just lead by example. And so we can do so much to help so many people when we honor who we are. And, we know who we're called to be, because I know he's the one that I just always say, my daddy owns it all anyway. So I don't stress over it. But if all we were meant to do was to be here, to live, to breathe air, and to pay bills, then why are we here?
Yeah, I mean, I just got done. I mean, I'm still part of doing the series of how the Bible talks about God wanted us to be entrepreneurs.
Yes.
My last week was the parables, of, God gave one man 5 bags of gold, gave one two, gave one. Go out and multiply it. I mean, and he rewarded people going out to being multiplying it, became good stewards of his money. And then he goes, well, since you've done this much, I'm going to have you now do this much more.
Yep.
He wants people to do this.
Absolutely.
And like, because I've
who hit his.
What's that?
He was angry with the man with
the guy who hit it, he's like, you lazy SOB. Pretty much, he's like, no, I'm not here to do it. I want you to be a creator. I mean, and I love this part. God created man. We are made in God's image. What are we supposed to be doing? Creating.
Well, and right along with that, we are creators. We are, because he says that, but he also said he spoke the world into existence. And so I tell people, if you think about, if we take every thought captive and the words we speak bring life or death, because that's it. Like, that's what the book says.
Yep.
Not my book, the book. Right?
The book.
So I'm like, look, there's nothing new in my book other than the fact that I lived it out. And it all goes back to the book, though, the absolute Bible, the word of God. Because at the end of the day, you're right. There are more than 2,000 scriptures on finance. And he said, I am the Lord who gave you the ability to create wealth. And we look at all these different passages where he says, he was pleased with the man who doubled. He was mad with the man who took it and hid it and didn't do anything with it. And so I'm like, we are to multiply what he's given us. We are to go forth and to create it.
Create, multiply, and be good stewards.
And to be good stewards.
That's the 3 things that God wants us to do.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like, I'm not money driven. I haven't gone out and bought a new house. I haven't done like people are like, oh, well, what do you do with all this money? And I'm like, I've got a lot to do with it. One, my money makes babies. That's number one, because that's what his word tells us. Number 2, though, I've got a kingdom to build. And people go, well, what do you do with it? I'm like, oh, there's a lot. See, there's a lot of needs in this world, but people go, oh, well, I've never even thought about what it would be like to be able to fund a school or to do things. There's some that are just emotional when I talk about them. And it's not about saying, look what I do. It's just about saying, God, if you can get it to me, you can get it through me. Just show me where it goes, because I'm a good steward. I'm going to make sure that it's doing his work and it's multiplying. Because here's my thing. I also know that the book tells us until every nation hears.
Yep.
I think we're a long way. Some people think Jesus is coming tomorrow and they're ready for it. And I'm like, I think we got a lot of work to do according to what he says. Because I was just in a great conversation with my pastor, and he said, Kerri, I've been going to Tanzania now for 30 plus years building these Bible colleges. And he goes, look at this. And we're looking at videos. And he said, we go in and we set up a crusade, and these people have never heard the name Jesus. And he said, they come And they come and they come, they walk for days to get there. And he goes, and then, we build a Bible college there, and we, teach them the word of God and how to go out and share the gospel. And he said, and we graduate them. And he goes, and then guess what? We could go just 10 miles down the road and set up a new tent and find people that have never heard the word Jesus, because these aren't people that are glued to an iPhone. Like, right. They're not there. And he goes, but the truth is in my lifetime, I haven't been able to accomplish it. And in your lifetime, you won't either. He goes, we could go every 10 miles and never touch the people just on that one nation. And I went, how much is Bible school? How much faster could we go? Right. And so then that's a new whole, I know I've been called to the nations. And so I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Let me talk to Rick. How many schools will we build this year? Like, that's the thing that drives me. So it gets me out of my house every day to talk to the next person and then find out what drives them. Right.
Yep.
Because that's what I believe his resources are for, is the calling that we all have, and we all have one.
Yep.
I don't want to get to the end of my life and literally I've had this and I've shared this vision before. I get to the end of my life and it's not Jesus I see, it's a person standing there. And I think to myself, will I recognize that person because that's who I was created to be?
Mm-hmm.
Or will I look at him as a total stranger and go, man, and will he say, good job, well done, faithful servant, when I'm standing there with me and I know me? Or will he say, man, I put so much in you and you didn't do the work. You don't even know who you were supposed to become. So I strive every single day to be better and to help more people just find their true identity, why they're here, because we all have a purpose. We all have an assignment.
And that's one thing you've always been great at. I mean, from the very first time I met you, and even hearing stories about you and your husband, of talking to my sister-in-law, and of just you guys have been, you can see that energy into you when you ever speak to somebody. And I've witnessed it now of being at different conventions and just not in the conversation, just but how you guys talk with people. And it's just somebody coming up, hey, I'd like to introduce, and Rick is really good at about it. He goes, okay, what? Tell me about something, and he gets into, and he has a big old smile on his face, and he just enjoys himself out there of like, okay, well, have you thought about this? Do this, do this. This is where you're going to find your why. And you guys have been so great at that, and it's been a very privilege of mine to get to know you guys better and see you guys every time that we get to do conferences or go on trips.
Yeah. Well, we feel the same way. And I tell people, like, it is the people you meet. It is the places you go. It's the books you read. That's what changes your life. I
Yep.
mean, honestly. And, I think I'm always so grateful, because without this company, we wouldn't know y'all. We wouldn't, like you said, we're not in each other's business. We don't have financial gain, but the friendships you gain, the relationships you build, they're priceless.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, you have your YouTube channel that you're always talking out there, and you have a women's group Bible study. I know my wife's part of doing this on that stuff. So kind of tell people how they can follow your YouTube and stuff.
Absolutely. So my website is kerriroberson.com, and there's links to my YouTube there. It's where you can purchase the book. And then, of course, I also have a community called Project Lead, so people can join that, where I'm just constantly helping them figure out that why. And so, and my YouTube channel is just youtube.com/Kerri Roberson. So.
And so I mean, if anybody wants to follow her, especially all my cowgirls out there, if you really want to be part of a Bible study, I know Sherry just loves her Bible study. That's once a week, right?
It's every other week.
Every other week. Yes, every other week. Sorry. Do that. But she always has great people on her YouTube channel talking a variety of different things on there. So, I mean, I encourage you to get up over there, give her a like and subscribe and all that on her YouTube channel, because I've listened to a few of them and they're really good quality interviews. You're always going to come away with a nugget or two, usually more than that. Well, thank you, Kerri, for jumping on and giving me your time today, helping just understanding why people need to really look at our this business through a different eyesight and of how they can truly become financially free, because, faith, freedom, family is what is really that's where you get your independence from, and so you guys need to take control back into your own hands. Get out of this system that has been designed and broken for way too long. And we hope to see you guys down the road, down the long, dusty trail, riding right alongside of us.
Absolutely.
So, God bless you all. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Kerri.
Thank you.